me see this thing on. Yep, it's on. I'm going to show you something I've realized or picked up about my Lee loader. The little mobile ones I use. Lee Precision, I think they're called. This one's in 357. It does come with instructions. Very simple, not too complex. There's a couple of things they don't mention that you need to realize. And I'm going to go through a couple of them here. I loaded these last night and I fired them today. Everything worked out. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to knock the primer out of this and reload it. And I'm going to show you a couple things. Now I'm going to put it and resize it. So out of there. Now we are going to put the primer in. And all this is in the instructions. Okay. Now I'm going to tap it out of the case out of the case. Now I'm primed up, ready to go. What we're going to do next is we're going to tap this thing and put a flange on this so it accepts the bullet. All right. I'm just going to give this thing a light tap with this tool here. Very light. Notice it kind of hangs on there. It does good. It doesn't take very much. Pop that off. You probably can't tell, but it's just a slight funneling, slight flange on this thing. You can barely see it. You can feel it, but you can't see it. When I started these things, I used to think you had to have this really big, noticeable flange, but it's not. It's very slight. Okay. You'll notice it took very little pressure to create it. I just get a couple little love taps there, and you know, brass is very malleable, and therefore it flares very easily. So now we got it primed, we got it flared. We're going to add our powder. Okay. Place our bullet. This is a, I think it's called a linotype. I'm going to make sure that brass goes right to that seam right there. Okay, I've already made the adjustments. I'll make another video on that. But I want that brass to go right up to that seam. Place the bullet in here. Now we're going to seat the bullet. One good whack. Now you notice I hit it pretty hard there, but it doesn't damage the casing in any way because there's nothing behind that bullet. It's just placing it in there. And I really don't have to hit it that hard, but it's just bang, it's in there. It's not going to harm the brass any. That's what I'm going to bring up next. Okay, now take a look at it. I make sure I've got that seam. The brass is all the way up to that seam. Now here's the kicker. This is the thing I learned. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this thing over, and we are going to, take my glasses off. We're going to crimp this thing. Now crimp is a big deal. I'm real big on the crimp, okay? I like a well-crimped bullet, good, you know, firm crimp. Hangs onto that bullet as long as it can, builds more pressure, and you get the most out of your powder that way. Okay, at least that's my thinking of it. Now, when I crimp this, I'm going to do the same thing I did when I did the flare. Just a couple of love taps. I'm going to let this thing fall on its own weight. This thing's kind of heavy, but a couple of taps. Let me get on, this thing's kind of bouncing. Look at it. Not bad. That's a doer. Oh, I dropped it. Okay. Now you're thinking, okay, what's the big deal? So you've crimped it. Big deal. Okay. But you notice how light I did it. Let me show you what I was doing before. I get a whole bag of these, and there's a piece of paper. These are tweaked. Because what I was doing when I was crimping these, I was hitting them more like that. And what had happened, I don't know if you can notice it, this bullet is now shaped like that. It will not fit in the cylinder. It's useless. Now what I'll do is I'll take this all apart and I'll resize this, get all shaped up, I can use it again. But for, because I like a really tight crimp, I'm thinking, well, I got to hit these pretty good. I got to cram this thing down on here, bang, bang, like that, to get this to seat inside that lead bullet really tight. Well, you don't have to hit that hard to do that. Okay, I messed up a good 15 of these. I did about 75 of them. The other ones worked out okay, but these ones I hit them too hard. I got some here that are really noticeable. Let's see if there's a good one here. Yeah, I've marked this one, just you really can't tell, but this one's way off, okay? It won't fit that far into the cylinder. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Well, they're bent. I've hit them too hard. So, the lesson learned here, if I take this one again, when it comes time to crimp with your Lee loader, can you see that in there? Let's get back over here. When it comes time to do that crimping, one of the final things you do, it's easy. Okay, now I'm on a piece of wood right here. If I'm over here on the metal, it's a lot better. Just a little love tap like that. Because of the same thing, it didn't take very much to get malleable brass to flare with this tool. So it doesn't take very much to get that brass to be wrapped around that lead with just some light taps. And you don't risk tweaking your brass and having to throw it away or do it all over again. Hopefully this made some sense. And I shot these today. I call this a light crimping. All these here that I did yesterday, these were lightly crimped. And I went out today, fired 5 or 6 of them. I had no unburnt powder, everything, so they went perfectly. So I didn't need to have this, macho crimp on this thing. Just enough to get it closed up there, and everything worked out good. But anyhow, that you won't find in the directions here, as far as how hard to hit these things. So when you resize it, you got to tap it pretty good. Like I said, all the directions are here. But when it comes to the crimping, it doesn't take a lot to get a good crimp on it. Anyhow, hopefully this helps someone. Love you, God bless.